Hey, everybody. This is Chrissy, and I'm so excited to be here with my host today, Lindsay Henneke. She is an sober coach, and I've met her on Instagram, and she's such an amazing woman. And she's helping so many people change their relationship with alcohol and envision their future selves, which is something I'm in love with. And it's something I really resonate with in my own journey and with my own clients. But Lindsay, I wanted to really just get a little bit more information on what made you want to change your relationship with alcohol? What got you to decide, like, this is enough? I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. I just love chatting with you about all of the things. So, really grateful to have met you on Instagram and I'm super excited to be here. So, I would say there's this element of life where the drinking just sort of creeps up. And I was in my 30s, late 30s, and I had known like, "Oh my gosh, this has become my everyday now." And I looked up and I thought, "Wow, my entire world revolves around drinking and when I'm gonna be able to drink and when I'm not going to be able to drink." And so in my late 30s, I started to take breaks from drinking that were mostly related to some sort of health or fitness challenge. And so it was truly just a, 30-day break of some sort with my little calendar and the picture of the wine glass on day 31 as that reward. And there was so reward based. Um, and then a couple weeks after some sort of challenge like that would be over, I'd be right back to drinking every single day and a bottle of wine a night or whatever. And this sort of lasted a really long time. And when I was 39, I read a book called A Happier Hour by Rebecca Weller. And I remember it was Thanksgiving weekend here in the US. So it was the end of November. And my coworker had read it also. We both read the book the same weekend. And then we both decided that we were going to take 30 days of drinking off because in Rebecca Weller's book, she takes 100 days. Um, but that was just completely unfathomable to me. I couldn't imagine doing that at the time. And so we decided we were going to do this break and there was a different intention behind it this time than just a health challenge. Like, yes, I was still planning on it only being 30 days, but I was being more mindful about it. I was observing more about myself this time as it related to my drinking versus before I was only focused on some sort of fitness challenge or whatever. And so my 40th birthday was on day 29 or 28 or something, and I just completely threw in the towel. I was, like, traveling with my husband and I were traveling for the holidays, and we were with my family, and it was my 40th birthday on Christmas Eve, and my mom had a whole bunch of family over, and I was just like, "Yeah, I don't wanna think about not drinking right now, like, it's my birthday, and it's the holidays, and I'm just not gonna talk to my family, who I don't see very often, about why I'm not drinking," and which is one of the biggest things that I hear from people. The reason that, like, they don't wanna move forward is because they're so worried about what other people are going to say, and that was so 100% me in that moment, that I didn't wanna deal with what other people were gonna think or say to me. So, um, I I drank, and then the rest of that trip and holiday season was just, like, drinking and right back to where I was, if not worse. And then my journey sort of evolved into reading more. Um, This Naked Mind would be the next book that I would read, and I was filled with regret and, feeling like, "How stupid could I be?" I'm reading this book and I have all this information and but, like, also, that alcohol is bad for you, and so, like, how could I have let myself get this far? I had been just so stalled out in my career. I was bored. I was deeply saddened because of many, many failed fertility treatments. I was trying to accept that I would never have children. So I was drinking to forget all kinds of things and not deal with the fact that I actually had a very good job. I always have, done quite well, but like just totally stalled out. Um, and I, I was really hurt because I felt like I had ruined a lot. And this naked mind really brought a lot of that up for me. Um, so I ignored it again for about another year. um, no, I can moderate. And so then I got more intentional and diligent with the rules I created around drinking. Even though in these books that I had read, it said that that was not gonna work, I was like, "Of course it is." Like, I am gonna live a life where I get to go on vacation and drink. I get to have a glass of wine on Friday nights, and it just didn't work. I tried for about another year, year and 4 months of really intentionally trying to moderate my drinking, and it was just worse. It just was worse. And so I had talked to my husband and I said, I need to get a different job. Like, I'm so bored in my job. That's why I'm drinking all the time. It's because I'm just bored. And um, so I got a different job and I don't even know. I thought, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've tricked these people into hiring me." Like, I got a job that was a big step up from my previous job. It was a massive pay increase, and I couldn't even figure out how I landed it. And I knew right away that I had to quit drinking. Like, there was absolutely no way that I was going to excel in this role if I had kept up with drinking. And so I also had been dealing with some health issues and I had to have a surgery. And it was all kind of right around the same time that I started this new job. And I thought I had been drinking so much. I was very nervous about going under anesthesia with all the alcohol I had been drinking. So I decided about 2 weeks before my surgery date to quit drinking. Like I was going to stop. And I mean, I didn't know at that moment that I would never drink again. I just knew that I really wanted to clean myself up so that I was in better health for this surgery. And then I never drank again, and, it was conversations with my husband about how I had been trying to moderate and that I had come to this conclusion that alcohol was not going to fit in my life anymore. And I think where things became different for me that time is, A, I was able to share with him how I pictured our lives, because I'd put a lot of thought into it by this point, and I was able to express how I didn't want his life to change if he didn't want it to. Because I think that that is what so many women are also afraid of. And I know that I was. It's like, oh, well, if I quit drinking, like we're not gonna be able to hang out with our friends anymore, or we're not gonna go on that trip that we take every year with that couple, or what about our, New Year's weekend ski trip that we take? Like all those things, you're afraid about how they're gonna change. And in reality, they just don't change the way that you think that they're going to. And so I needed to articulate that to him. And once I did that, and once I got vulnerable with him, that is when I was able to be successful.
Oh, I love that. And I find that so interesting because something that really resonates with me is intuition. And we don't really understand, I don't think a lot of us understand it actually. And addiction's hard and alcohol culture is hard. And what you said, I really resonate with because I also cared so much what everyone thought of me and what would I look like. And I feel like because I didn't drink every day, I drank on the weekends, and I sometimes did drink during the week, but I think I like was like, "I see I have my stuff together." But really, at the end of the day, I was unfulfilled in parts of my life as well. However, I love that, like, even like I'm bored in my job. And obviously, you are coaching full time, which was really what I think the universe was trying to lead you to. But what you said though is I was bored of my job. So I got this other like exciting job, which in some way it was kind of your intuition saying you got to do this other thing. And then you had that surgery. So like it was like almost like pushing you towards getting you there. You were listening to the nudges, even though it took time. It takes us, a lot of us take time to get to the point where we're like, okay, we are sick and tired of this life. We want a better life. And so I really, really love that story because that's so cool. And even the conversations with your husband. So I denied actually a lot of what I needed in a relationship because I didn't want to make anyone change their behaviors. And I think this is the other thing that's really difficult is we cannot tell somebody, anybody what to do with their lives at the end of the day. But we absolutely need to say, like, what do I need? What do I need in this relationship? And what do I see this, where do I see this going? And it's very hard to think about dating and relationships without alcohol because it's such a huge part of a relationship if that's what you both did. So for me, the same thing. My husband and I drank all the time together socially. So it was like, okay, well, how is this going to look without alcohol?
Yeah, yeah. And like, and what, so I tell my clients this all the time. It's like, you have to bring them along for the ride. And you have to let they need to know what to expect just as much as they need to know what you need for support because it changes all the time. Like one week I could not and you know how this goes in sobriety, like what you are feeling changes from one day or one week to the next. And so one week I could be like loaded with confidence and yeah, I'm great. I don't bring on yeah, have friends over, do whatever. Like, let's go out to dinner with 6 other couples and like I don't care. You can handle it. But then other weeks you can't. And so if you are demonstrating your behavior to your spouse or whomever you live with or maybe just somebody you spend the most time with and your confidence is really high and then maybe the next week it's not, but you don't say anything, they don't know that you need a different type of support that week. And so when I realized that, everything changed for me personally.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important because I didn't always do that in the beginning because I just thought this was my thing to figure out by myself, alone. And you and I both know that removing alcohol, it fundamentally changes you and you are a different person. No matter how you slice it, there's something that's going to be different. And often we can't change unless we make changes, right? And we'll go back to perhaps drinking or, something I've dealt with. And I'm curious your thoughts with yourself or anyone you've worked with is we go on this ride to sobriety, but we still are not actually acknowledging all of our needs. And I see a lot of people pleasing in this area. Um, and so I think one of the biggest things is trying to figure out your emotional state and why do we feel anxious or sad. And I'm not saying we're not allowed to feel those things, but if we constantly feel these emotions, sometimes we actually don't know where they're stemming from. And for me, it was somewhat that I wasn't actually saying what I needed, like you mentioned. "Hey, I really need to not drink this. Like, I really can we go do something different?" Or, "I'm kind of over this." And to me, also and I don't know to some of the people you work with, is that my husband actually kind of battled some issues with addiction. So that was something we both needed to work on later, but I was almost like paralyzed. Like I can't say anything because I can't tell him what to do. And I denied things for such a long time. And I'm actually really curious. Have you seen that with the people you've worked with? Because I don't think it's a topic that's often discussed a lot, at least in the mainstream.
Yeah, I think the whatever the relationship status is of the women that I work with, that this is something that comes up. And this is not just if they're married and what the road looks like going forward. This is also for women that I work with who are single and they want to start dating and what that's going to look like for them. And so there's so much about this. Like, you used the phrase people pleasing earlier, and so there's a big element of that, but I the conversation always leads to, this is about you and they are about them. And you are in this time period where you are making big changes in your life and in your day to day. And so communicating to them and letting them know what it means and how things are changing for you is great. 3, 6, 8 months down the road, you may realize that you're not for one another. Or
Mhm.
you may realize that you're influencing them and they're influencing you. And so, like, a huge realization that I had, I was just talking with a client about this morning, was around, like, they had the same exact thing happen, is my spouse, I very much believe, drank more because I was drinking, and I was like, let's have another one." My husband barely drinks now. He's a person who can have a beer on a Friday night or go out to dinner and have a beer or something, and that's it for him. I was never like that. And so I think that when we realize that maybe we were the influence on other people, their behavior is also going to naturally change. Not that it's the case every single time. We all have our own battles with this. Um, but the piece is that if you're growing and you feel like your partner is not, then you have to make a decision. Are you going to be there for the long run and help them? How much are you going to take? Or are you gonna make a decision to go a separate way? And those are some of the hardest conversations that I have with women, but they're very real and it's scary. But these are all the things that we're avoiding when we continue to drink, right? Because you can stay drinking and still not connecting with your partner and finding out if they're the right person or if you have anything in common, or you can do the hard thing that's easier and quit drinking and start to discover yourself and associate your self-worth and what you want and what you value in the world and what you want in a partner. And if they don't give it to you, then to me it's done. I just don't, life is too short.
Yeah, I really, really resonate with that, and that's something that's been so difficult in my journey, and I don't share about it too much, but my husband's actually almost 90 days, so I actually think 90 days sober today.
It's amazing.
Yes, but what I didn't do is I didn't tell him my needs, and I think that we have this fear is, you know, what if they leave me or what if things get rocky? But then at the same time, what if things get better and your life can get better? Just because we have pain doesn't mean that we have to stay stuck in this cycle. But I did, right? And I think this is where a lot of people get anxiety or depression is that they have all these internal struggles and they don't know that it's even going on sometimes, or they deny themselves because they don't feel worthy, they don't feel good about themselves. And how easy is it to drink again when you have these internal struggles? I don't want to feel this emotion. I don't know what the heck I need, but I know drinking is easy and it's a very addictive substance. So let me turn to that versus dealing with my actual issues and my dreams and who I could be. So that's why I love when you talk about that because I really resonate, like I said, with that is that's my journey is I didn't know all these things about myself until I stopped drinking.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like sometimes I would be thinking, the whole time I've known my husband, we've been drinking, or I've been drinking. I mean, more so. And like, is he gonna like me later? Or what if I change so much that he's not interested in me anymore? Or what if I change so much that I'm like, who the heck are you? Why would I have married you? Like, you just
Yeah.
there's just a lot of ambiguity. And I think that when you're in those first few months where you are focused on changing your habit and your routine, and you're focused on cleaning out your system and feeling really healthy, and then all of the emotions and these things start to come up, and that is really hard. And so what you need to remember during that time is that yes, I there is uncertainty here, but I am doing the work. I am showing up every day, and if I drink, it's going to make the work not happen, and it's going to make this all take very long, like longer. And there is uncertainty, there is ambiguity, and but trust in yourself that you will figure it out. And the the bottom line to this is that it will be easier to manage and deal with when you are not drinking than had you continued to drink.
100%. And I agree. And I think that, what we offer, and I know that you obviously this is, your full-time job is helping people and especially, women, not just get sober, but stay sober and work through this because it's so hard when you're in the midst of pain to see that there's a way out. But I look back at my journey and I'm like, you know what? I had to have this happen to me to learn this, to learn this, to learn this, to learn this. So without all this information and without having a struggle, I would have never known, oh my gosh, I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel worthy. I've been living like this for a long time. It was way before alcohol. It just made me very numb to who I could become and the things that I had to heal and work on. And I think that's the beauty is that we can change. We don't have to stay stuck and fundamentally unhappy, but just not maybe know that we're not happy, right? Like I think that's the biggest thing is we can lie to ourselves about anything. We can lie to ourselves that alcohol is helping with something, even though it's sometimes it needs to be taught that it doesn't really help with something because, you know, you went through it too, is that we all go into alcohol culture that we're told that this substance is like the best thing ever. And it's a perceived benefit that it's going to help with something, even though it gives us that struggle. And we've been subconsciously programmed to need alcohol. So it takes time. We have to have patience and also to realize that things will get we sometimes people quit before things get good, right? Like they get better because it's so hard. But that's why I do want to, ask you too if did you get support when you stopped drinking?
I did not. I only had my husband. In 2013, I went to like an AA meeting and I very quickly was like, I'm never coming back to one of these again. Um, and so I didn't. And then, I mean, I didn't quit drinking until 2020. So a lot of time went by, where I was still drinking, but no, I didn't want anyone to know, and I basically said no to a lot of things. I also quit drinking during the pandemic, and so there wasn't a ton
Oh,
going
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It was very much just my husband and I anyway, but I also was not seeking out, a sober Instagram, or I didn't even know that there was this cozy sober corner of Instagram at the time, and I don't think back then that it was as big as it is now. Um, and I wasn't part of any sober Facebook groups or any of that. All I did every single day was talk to my husband, listen to Quit Lit, go to work, come home, eat dinner, take a shower, and read Quit Lit. Like, that was my day every single day because I just wanted to not drink anymore. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I was so sick of always thinking about alcohol And I also had started this new job and we were kind of going into the office sometimes, like special meetings or whatever, or back and forth between home and office based on whatever was going on with the pandemic. And I was looking around at my new coworkers and none of them drank, like
Huh.
none of, and I just thought, and the place that I had worked prior, the drinking culture was so prominent. Like it was, beer lunches and beer Fridays at 3:30, everybody drinking. And so it was just such a big drinking culture. And I could not believe the lack of drinking. Nobody's going out or having a drink after work. And it was just, I don't know, it was just very refreshing for me, and that helped me along. It was less about having support and talking to anybody about it because I only talked to my husband about it. But it was more of just I started to see a world where there were a lot of sober people, and I had not been exposed to that before.
Yeah, what's really crazy is once got sober, and I got sober actually by myself. I believe I stayed sober with I did get a little bit of support, but not AA. It was an online group, and I did mine a couple years after you, so I think it was a little bit more prevalent of all these groups and like what you were on. But yeah, I believe that we think we're the only ones on this journey. We're like the only sober people in the world, and it's very isolating and lonely. Yet, if we go out there, we'll actually find that it's becoming more popular. And funny is, my husband was telling me that on one of the news channels here, they were talking about the sober movement and how it's like projected to just explode. So I really feel like obviously it's a still culture of drinking and boozy culture, and that's still there. But I do feel like there's a silver lining that it's becoming more normalized in some fashion. It's not quite where I would love it to be, but I'm just curious. Do you think that it's becoming more popular now too? That sobriety is like this healthy thing that people just should be doing, not because they're homeless on the corner. And I'm not saying anything negative about that, but what I'm saying is I think there's that stigma that you have to be so bad to quit drinking, and really that's not necessarily the case. Like if it's not serving you, it's not serving you.
Yeah, exactly. And if people just they don't want to drink and they don't want to drink. And I think it is becoming more prominent, and I am noticing even in my own friend group that they're not drinking as much, and that people just are starting to be in tune with doing what's right for them, and people are just caring less about what other people think is sort of my general piece. And I think about my dad with this. My dad, who also used to be a drinking buddy of mine, and he'll call me sometimes and he'll say he'll have, gotten home from the golf course with his buddies and they're all like, in their 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And he'll say, "Well, Lindsay, so and so his granddaughter doesn't drink." And I'm like, "It's great, dad. Like, how does this stuff even come up?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I tell everybody that you don't drink."
Aw.
And and my dad still drinks, and I think, he lives in the world of struggling with moderation, I'm certain of it, um, but the pride that he has because it's so unfathomable to him as a 75-year-old man or however 76-year-old man to not that people don't drink, his whole life he's been a drinker.
Mhm.
So, and I have women in my group and in my one-on-one coaching containers who are in their 60s and 70, and it's you can change and you can make whatever time that you have left on this planet to be healthy and amazing and beautiful. It doesn't matter how old you are. And the pride that goes along with it is just so immense. And I don't know. I just always think it's so funny when I hear my dad. He always wants to tell me when he learns about people who don't drink.
Oh, I love that. I think it's so cool because I think we think like, oh, what is everyone gonna think of us? But really, people are like, But damn, that's amazing. If anyone ever judges you, it's their own issues, not your issues. But I really think majority of people that love you will support you. Because we're not, I'm not going around and you're not going around telling everybody in the world has to stop drinking. But we're
Mhm.
saying is that, like, hey, I get it. I wanted to stop too. And this is what happens when you stop. You find passions and purpose and you figure out who you want to become. And I don't care if it's at 40 years old, like I'm in my 40s, and it took me to my 40s to realize, wow, I'm looking at careers that I maybe don't want to do, trying to figure out the passions and write books. And with you obviously totally pivoted your career to do this full time because you felt like this pull. So I just really feel like when we follow those nudges, right? And it's hard to know them when we're in the midst of pain and anxiety and trying to figure out our identity. And it's so much wrapped in alcohol culture. And it's not our fault. It's absolutely not our fault. We were kind of born into it a little bit. But I think that there's this whole other world. And I think it gives people hope that, hey, if I quit too, just maybe I can have that.
Yeah, exactly. And nor any most of the people that I've spoken with who are my friends who, maybe I haven't seen them in a while, and they learn that I don't drink anymore, usually they're like, "I'm just jealous."
Wow. Yeah.
Mm.
Because who doesn't want to feel healthier, right? I mean, at the end of the day, most I feel like, especially women, as that we age, but alcohol does change us. Like it takes longer to get out of our systems, and there are actual more health consequences as we age. It's a true thing. And but I think what they don't sometimes know is, yeah, I wanted to do it for health reasons as well. But then there's like this whole other side where I was like, holy crap. Like I didn't know all this was blocked, and I didn't know I could do all these hard things, and I didn't believe in myself, but now I can believe in myself. Those are the things that have utterly shocked me that I didn't know about myself. And that to me is just why I love sobriety. It's such a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, no, it really is because whatever your motive is in the beginning, you may just want to quit drinking for one or two reasons, like health or have more energy, but like the outcomes and everything that becomes available to you when you do it is just like it's unimaginable in the best way.
Yes, it is. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted just you to give like a little bit of an idea of like what is one thing, I guess not even an idea, but what is one thing that has sobriety has done for you that you're like, I am so grateful. What's the one thing for you that it's done?
Mm. I would say that sobriety has made allowed me to have deeper connections with people. I I don't think I have had a surface level conversation since I quit drinking.
Oh, I love that. And I just feel like that feeds our soul, right? Like we're also meant to be on this planet to connect with people. And I,
Mhm.
I really resonate with you because even in the sober space, I've met so many people virtually, not in person, but people that I'm like, wow, they're kind of on my journey with me, or we meet people for reasons we don't even know sometimes. They might help us or we might help them. And so I just think that's like a really cool takeaway. So I appreciate that because I think that's very true. You're not worried about the drinking, the buzz, you're not worried about, you know, blacking out, you're just you're in the present moment with somebody, and that is truly connecting to me.
Yeah, I think it really is the kind of the key for me, and it made me realize, like, how much I deeply care about so many people.
Yeah, well, I love that, and I love that takeaway, and we'll put it in the show notes, of course, but how can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Lindsay_Henneke, or my website is lindsayhenneke.com.
Well, I really appreciate you being on and you sharing your story and your wisdom, and I know that I definitely resonate so much with your story.
Oh, thank you so much. I also resonate with yours, so I really enjoyed talking today.
All right, thank you, everybody.